Well, good morning and welcome back to another week on my allotment. And it's dawn. There's my proof. It's dawn on Saturday. I'm not coming up tomorrow. We've swapped the days. I have something going on tomorrow, and I'll say no more than that. I've not positioned myself very well. The smoke from the shed's coming straight through my face. So yeah, I've got today up the allotment instead, and it's going to be a lovely day, I think. Certainly a beautiful sunrise. And actually the weather's quite topical, because I always read the newspaper headlines when I get up in the morning, just to see what the mad mainstream media are saying. And of course it's all about the weather this week. As they ease more restrictions, the politicians and scientists are wetting themselves because they're scared everyone's going to go outside, which of course they are. Never ceases to amaze me how amazed they are that they lock you in your houses under house arrest for months, and then the spring arrives and they've got to let people out because they're going to go out anyway, and then all the cases have gone up. Well, you're testing more, and people want to go out and enjoy the weather. We're not cave dwellers. We are open air people, although, looking at the modern generation, you wouldn't think it. I saw a really sad thing this week. I was driving to work one morning, and of course some of the children are back to school, and there's a bus stop where a coach stops to take a load of children to a rather nice posh school in Monmouth. And there's a row of these children, I suppose about 15 kids. Now normally, back in my day, kids would have been mucking about, running about, playing it and tag and all the rest of it. But of course modern children don't do that. They stand looking at their mobile phones. And that's sad enough. But this week, there was a row of children. They were all 2 meters apart, and they all had masks on, looking at their phones. And I try and be upbeat, and I try and be a little more humorous than I normally would be. But that really saddened my soul, to think what we have done to those children. When you think they're not at risk, they're perfectly safe, and yet we have completely dehumanised them. I think that was a really sad reflection. Whatever you think about this current situation, that little snapshot was the most sad, tragic and completely unnecessary thing I've seen in the last year. Anyway, I don't mean to bring you down. So, today on the plot, if you remember last week, I did the old carrots and then cover them up thing. Well, that was Sunday, and I've got a confession to make. I had a little sneak look yesterday and there's no sign of any carrots. However, we did have quite a bit of heavy rain this week, so I think that covering has still done the job. So I'm going to take the covers off the 3 tubs that I've sown. And I've chitted some parsnips in our airing cupboard, and I've got those out the airing cupboard last night. They've been in there a week, and they have got the little telltale growth on them, which means that they are germinating. And so they are going in a tub today, and they can just crack on. And I'm going to sow a lot more carrots, and I'm going to take the risk. The beauty of carrot seed, and all my seed is new this year, well, the stuff I've got now, is there's so many seeds in a packet, 1,300, 1,500 seeds. So if I sprinkle a few on now and it's a little bit too early and they don't germinate, I can go again. Whereas, if you buy cucumber seeds, you only get 5 in a packet. You've got to make sure that each one of those is looked after. So that's what I'm doing today. The other thing, for those of you that are a little more observant, I don't know if you can see it because the sun's coming up right behind it, is my neighbour is putting up a huge polytunnel. It looks like an expensive one. It's not a blowaway. It looks like a proper, you know, well-built commercial type polytunnel. But it's over 8 feet, or it is 8 feet high. I think it's 5 metres long. Sorry to mix my imperial and my metric. And it looks like a bit of a beast. Anyway, the one plus about it is he's on the down side of me, so he's not going to block out any sun. I'm not going to get a shadow cast by it. But if I was on the other side of it, I would have something to say about that. But anyway, that's the politics of allotments. There's a couple of polytunnels gone up. That's the only decent one. The others are just cheap blowaway ones, and they won't last 6 months. Yeah, that's quite a thing, and it's only the frame at the moment. He's spent all week doing it on and off. So the covers, I don't know, maybe he'll turn up today and maybe he'll put the cover on. We shall see. Anyway, welcome along. I'm going to get my brew, the fire's on, and I'm going to sit and watch this beautiful sunrise and just, you know, relax and enjoy the moment. I have had a few compliments this week about my plot, which, you know, is nice. People wander about with their cup of tea and pop up here and say hello, which is lovely. I think that's one of the best parts of allotments. It's a shame, really, that there's a lot of people on here who don't mix and who don't communicate. But, you know, it's a snapshot of life, isn't it? You know, if you walk down your street, some people will say hello and some people will turn their back and keep themselves to themselves. Anyway. Yeah, so here's the polytunnel I'm on about so far. And like I say, it looks like a top quality one. And he's done a very good job of levelling it. To my eye, that does look spot on. But, you know, and like I say, I'm not fussed. I did speak to him and say, John, one of the things I've noticed about polytunnels is that if you don't come up every day, or certainly every other day, and water things inside, they shrivel up and die. And he, in his own little way, he sort of thought about that and went, yes. So we shall see. He comes up here about half a dozen times a year, so it's going to be interesting to watch that. But it is going to block out my view of a lot. You know, I like to be able to keep an eye on people, and I'm not going to be able to do that now. It's going to block out quite a lot of my view. Luckily, I will still be able to see the river, which is one of the bonuses of this site, is the beautiful view. But John, my good friend, 2-3 plots away, this polytunnel is going to block out all his view of the river, which is a shame. Anyway, nothing stands still, does it? It's fair to say that most people have spotted the flagpole now, and some of them are even getting used to, as they drive up, looking for the flag to see if I'm here or not. But for those of you that don't know, there is a right way up and an upside down way to fly the Union flag. And the best way to know it is that at the top corner where the flag meets the pole, the broadest white band should be nearest the top of the pole, where it joins the pole. So you can put it up the wrong and the right way. I've learned that there's a label at the bottom, so I don't look at the flag, I just look at the label. I know I've got it the right way up, because for an ex-military man, putting your national flag up upside down would be an unforgivable sin. And that brings me on to a couple of points. I've got a question for you, and I'll tell you the answer at the end of the video. When does the Union flag, created in 1801 under the Act of Union, when does the Union flag become a Union Jack? What's the difference? There you are, answers on a postcard, please. And another thing I've learnt this week is about the American flag. And I've served with American troops on many occasions. And I didn't know this. The Americans have a completely different attitude to their flag. Their flag has a code. For example, you can't put the stars and stripes on any item of clothing. some less tasteful items of clothing are not allowed, whereas the Union flag, you can put it on anything and everything, and people do. But the Americans have a very strict code regarding their flag. A bit like the Constitution, every country has a Constitution. The American Constitution is not unique. But the Americans talk about the constitutional rights a lot, but no other country does. You know, and I get that. I think the American pride in their flag is a wonderful thing, and I think you know, countries could learn from that. But the point I wanted to make is you're not allowed to fly the flag backwards. So when Americans wear their shoulder badge on their uniform, the American flag is back to front. Now, why would that be? Well, that's because the American flag is not allowed to retreat. So when an American soldier moves forward, the front of the flag is the part that has the stars and stripes in the top corner. So it's reversed the other way, so the flag is always going forward. And the same on VIP cars, you'll see the flag is reversed so that the stars are at the, you know, anyway, you get my point. But I never knew that, I never spotted that. You know, I must have spoke to thousands of American troops in the years that I've served with them, in Iraq and Afghanistan and all over the world. And I never noticed that. Anyway, an interesting little point. And another question for you. There is still an American state that has the Union flag as part of its state flag. Which state is that, and why do they still have that on their flag to this day? They're such culture. You don't get this on any other allotment channel, although you do get quite a bit more about how to grow fruits and vegetables. Yeah, there's nothing showing yet, but it is only 6 days, and I still think this has done the job of protecting it from the hard rain we've had, so that the seedlings can get their best start. So nothing as yet, but I'll report back to you on my next video. I've got a lot of tubs. I'm not sure how many I've got, and I haven't quite decided what's getting carrots and what's getting parsnips, but I'm going to go on and sow some more now. Well, as is quite a common practice now, I've been chitting these parsnip seeds in my airing cupboard, like I said, at home. And I'm not going to hold this too close, but the little white root on many of them is just starting to poke out, and that's an excellent time to start sowing, because you know they're viable. So I'm going to try and gently ease these out. That one's actually rooting in the paper. And then I'm going to space them about 3 or 4 inches apart, all the way around this, and then cover them with soil. And they're on their own, and we'll see. And very quickly I should start to get some green visible growth. We shall see. I'm going to finish this and I'll come back to you. Well, that's the first tub of parsnips sown this year. Very pleased about that, and with some wonderful temperatures coming this week, I'm hoping that will help them along. Well, if you grow vegetables, you'll know what I mean when I say I've never lost the thrill. I mean, I haven't been doing this long, 5 years this will be this year, but I have never lost the thrill of putting something in the ground and that first little green shoot that sticks through the soil and shows that it's been a success and that it's growing. And as it is here with my garlic. So Marco, that garlic there, was sown in the autumn and appears okay. You know, it's a fairly hardy plant. These beds were waterlogged but not underwater, so I've got high hopes for that, and it's sticking it up nicely. But I've got Solent white garlic here, and then pink, 2 rows of pink Germador there, and that was sown a little bit later. I can see it's coming through. I don't know if you can pick that up on the camera, but certainly these Solent white garlic are coming up in nice neat rows, so thrilled to bits. Right, well, I haven't bored you with videoing it, but I've now sown a lot more carrots, and as I say, I've got enough seed to risk growing early or sowing early, and I shall see what happens. They can be a little bit slow to germinate, but I'm just going to just see how it goes. I'll report back on the ones I've sown a week ago, if they come up. And at home I've now sown the courgettes and the cucumbers, a lot more tomatoes. We've been to a garden centre now, and I managed to buy a couple more packets of outdoor tomato seeds. So I'm fairly confident that we're going to have quite a few tomatoes if they succeed this year. So yeah, it's now that it's the 27th of March. The weather is warming up, although, you know, looking a week ahead, although we've got some wonderful temperatures in the daytime, over here in the west of England it's nearly up to 20 degrees. I think towards London they're going to get higher than that, but the nighttime temperatures are the key, and they're still down around 3 or 4 degrees, so it's important not to go too early with things. On the flag situation, the reason that the Union flag is often called the Union Jack is because a flag flown on a ship is called a Jack, and of course, you know, the Union flag was flown on every battleship of the line in the day, and that name quickly moved from the Navy into wider society, and it's very often today known as the Union Jack. And the United States state that still has the Union flag as part of its state flag is Hawaii. And because of course Hawaii, despite the War of Independence, was trying to appease both the Americans and the British, and so it combined the two flags, and it is still that way today, which is quite interesting. It's lovely to see that, you know, we haven't forgotten all history, that people are prepared to accept that, you know, that their flag, as with their country, comes with history. I didn't know that. Yeah, Hawaii. Who knew? Well, I hope that doesn't make you dizzy at that funny angle, but that shows the metal rims from an old barrel that I've put round to contain the nice soil that I've mulched these blackberries with. I think that looks rather neat. And moving along, yesterday, looking for things to do, this raspberry plant, I've put in some fan shaped bamboo, and I've tied in the canes from the raspberry, which should make it easier to pick and is a little more pleasing to the eye. So yeah, very happy with that. It's all looking very prim and proper. Ship shape and Bristol fashion. I was sat on the bench that's halfway down my plot, and I was looking at, just scanning the plot, daydreaming, and my eyes fell on my little scarecrow there with his mask on and his high-vis vest, and it got me to thinking about, there's a couple on YouTube, I think they're called the Postmodern Family or something, and they're Americans who live in Britain. I think I've mentioned them before, and they just, you know, make observations about British life, and back when we were free, they used to go around and make videos about places they visited. I find it quite interesting to, it's always interesting to see how other countries view you and your country. And they mentioned one of the things that's quite unique to Britain is this almost fetish for high-vis vests. And you know, if you want to be considered a person in authority, you put on a high-vis vest. And it got me giggling about a video I watched on YouTube, and it relates to this COVID thing. And you know, whatever you may think of this COVID thing, you know, I've made my feelings quite plain that, well, I won't go there. But one of the things that's been fascinating to watch is how compliant the British people have become with authority. I remember last spring when they said people can go into other people's gardens. One of the questions at the daily briefing from a journalist was, are people allowed to go in and use the toilet? You know, and that person was an adult asking another adult. And you think, you are asking government permission to go to the toilet. And, you know, the government's done a remarkable job using behavioural psychologists to alter and influence people's behaviour. It's been fascinating to watch. You know, I think you've got two polar opposites. You've got the people who won't go out and won't do anything unless the government say so, and then you've got the people at the other end, a little bit like me, where the moment they tell me I can't do something, I go and do it because I'm free and I've earned the right to be free. And no prat sat in Westminster is ever going to tell me what to do. Anyway, I'm trying not to rant. I watched this video, and this guy was somewhere in London, and he put on a high-vis vest, and he got a brush. You know the brushes with the roller Velcro type stuff that you run over your jacket or your dress to take off hairs and bits of fluff. That's all it was. So he was armed with a high-vis vest and a clothes brush, and he stood in the entrance to a supermarket somewhere in London. And as people walked in, and of course he had a mask on, he just went like that, and each person that came in the shop stood in, because he went like that. The public, as they trooped into this shop, they went like that, and he rolled under their arms, you know, like you see them scanning at airports, like security. But of course it's a clothes brush. And each person that walked, you know, and they carried on in their masks, and each person that came in up like that, and not one person questioned or said, "What are you doing, you idiot?" You know, I mean, I don't suppose they looked very closely at what he had in his hand, but it's just, apart from the fact it's hilarious, it's just this whole debacle has been an incredible insight into how compliant people have become. I sat and laughed out loud at that. Yeah, you think somebody would, you know, say something, but yeah, it's just an observation. Well, one of the central areas has been given up by Bridget and John, and she mentioned to me that it had quite a lot of comfrey plants on it that she'd planted probably last year, I think, and they're just greening up. I don't know if you can see them. I've put them in the ditch or the bank of the canal that goes around my plot, and the theory being, you know, in the spring I should be able to harvest that and make comfrey tea out of it for feeding the plants. So that would be quite useful. I'm quite happy with that. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on which way you look at it, all this was all cardboarded and chipped, but the nettles and the docks have made their way through it. The docks I might have to dig out, but the nettles I'm not going to worry about, because I'm going to harvest those, and I'm going to make nettle tea this year. That's one project I'm going to give a go. I've not done that before, so yeah, I'm going to have a go at producing my own plant fertiliser with comfrey and nettles, and I'm a bit disappointed that they're coming through all the way along here, but you know, I can't help it. I'll deal with it. And here's, you know, creeping buttercup is coming through, so here I'm going to have to do something about that. But we need more chippings, and that hasn't happened yet. Well, it's turning into a beautiful day out there. It's 8:05. It's a stunning Saturday. It's nearly April, so not quite sure why there's no one else here but me. I'm sure that'll change. People don't do mornings, do they? I mean, I know I'm a little bit different, you know, getting up here at, well, before 6 o'clock in the morning so I can watch the sunrise, but why aren't more people morning people? I mean, maybe I should be glad they're not, because then I get this place to myself, and, you know, I don't understand. You know, genuinely, I've never understood why getting up at 5 o'clock is any different to getting up at 9 o'clock. Anyway, I haven't done any interesting facts for a while, so here goes. In 2015, a Southampton to Dublin flight had to turn back after a bee got stuck in the flight instruments. It was a flyby flight. In 1952, a US Air Force lieutenant accidentally shot down his own plane. I said, how do you do that? In 1943, a US destroyer accidentally torpedoed a ship that was carrying President Roosevelt. See, this blue on blue thing isn't a new thing. The US Navy uses Xbox controllers to operate periscopes. The US director of the International Knife Throwers Hall of Fame is called Jack Dagger. When Danish explorer Peter Fruken was buried by an avalanche at the North Pole, he hacked his way out with a tool made of his own frozen poo. Human initiative knows no bounds, does it? A butcher in Totnes who got trapped in his freezer in 2018 had to batter his way out with a frozen black pudding. Not quite as dramatic as being frozen in or stuck in an avalanche at the North Pole, but you know, it's still initiative, isn't it? I've never understood why people read fiction, because truth is always far more amazing. Yeah, remarkable. Well, I think this will be a short one this week, but yeah, again, you know, there's only so much you can do at this time of year. Thank you for joining me anyway. And who knows? I mean, this week looks like it's going to be a glorious week weather-wise. Really looking forward to that. So maybe things will start moving on apace now. Thank you for joining me. Look after yourselves and enjoy the nice weather. And all being well, I shall see you next weekend. Take care. Bye for now.